Margaret Thatcher, also known as the Iron Lady, was Britain's first female Prime Minister, and her leadership made a profound impact not only on Britain but also on global politics. Her full name was Margaret Hilda Thatcher, and she was born on October 13, 1925 in a small town called Grantham, England. Her father was a small businessman and political leader who had a profound influence on Margaret's life. From her father, Margaret learned hard work, discipline, and morality, which inspired her to move forward in her life. Margaret Thatcher at Oxford University studied chemistry, and he started showing interest in politics during his studies. At Oxford he supported the Conservative Party's policies. Become a part of the association and join your politics. He began his journey in 1950 at Dartford, contested the election, although the seat was won by the Conservative Party. Nevertheless, his candidacy gained popularity, gave him recognition in the political community. Early political journey. Margaret married Dennis Thatcher in 1951 and had 2 children. In 1959, she was elected a Member of Parliament and entered the House of Commons. She had a clear and straightforward approach to politics, one that emphasized independence, responsibility, and individual achievement. Her work ethic gradually earned her a prominent position in the Conservative Party. In 1970, she became Minister of Education and Science in the government of Prime Minister Edward Heath. During her tenure, she implemented some tough policies, the most controversial of which was the decision to cut the education budget. She was heavily criticized for this, but it helped establish her image as a tough and courageous leader. Tenure as Prime Minister. In 1979, Margaret Thatcher became the Prime Minister of Britain. This was a time when Britain was facing a serious economic crisis. Unemployment, inflation and industrial strikes had made Britain's situation unstable. Thatcher implemented some tough economic policies to improve this situation, which are called Thatcherism. The main objective of these policies was to reduce government interference in the economy, cut taxes and provide freedom to businesses. Her policies were controversial because they led to many state-owned companies going private, and many workers losing their jobs. Her moves were heavily criticized, but Thatcher stood by her decisions. She insisted that the move was necessary to put the economy on a path of stability and growth. She said, "The government has no money. It's the people's money," and it was under this ideology that she worked to reshape the economy. Falklands War. In 1982, Argentina tried to capture the British-owned Falkland Islands. At the time of this crisis, Margaret Thatcher took the tough decision of military action, and the British Army took back the Falkland Islands under its control. This decision increased her popularity and established her as a strong leader. After victory in the Falklands War, she got the name Iron Lady, which became a symbol of her courage and determination. Domestic policies and criticism. Thatcher's domestic policies were controversial. She took tough measures to reduce the influence of unions and tried to stop industrial strikes. She believed that the power of unions was hindering economic growth. She tried to solve this problem by passing a number of laws that made unions more accountable for their actions. She faced opposition, especially during the miners' strike of 1984–85. The strike was led by trade union leader Arthur Scargill, a staunch opponent of Thatcher. But Thatcher successfully put down the strike and the influence of unions in Britain was greatly reduced. Poll tax and collapse. In 1989, Margaret Thatcher implemented a new tax system called the poll tax. Under this policy, all citizens had to pay the same tax, regardless of their income. This decision was heavily opposed by the public and protests took place across the country. Due to the poll tax, discontent against her began to grow even within her own party. Thatcher defended this tax policy, but this decision caused a huge decline in her popularity. In 1990, Thatcher's opponents within the party rose against her and she was eventually forced to resign as Prime Minister. Her resignation was followed by the appointment of John Major as Prime Minister. This marked the end of an era in British politics. Life after Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher remained active in public life even after leaving the post of Prime Minister. She wrote many books and gave lectures supporting her ideas and policies. Her influence on British politics remained long-lasting and Thatcherism came to be regarded as a symbol of stability and improvement in Britain's economy. Her husband Dennis died in 2003, after which she gradually withdrew from public life. She suffered health problems a few years later and died on the 8th of April 2013 at the age of 87. Thatcher's influence and legacy. Margaret Thatcher's policies had a profound impact on Britain's economy and society. She introduced a new economic model that had less government control and emphasized individual freedom. Under her leadership, Britain saw many social and economic changes. Thatcher's political vision and her ideas are still a source of inspiration for many leaders. Her followers consider her a leader who led Britain through difficult times and reinvigorated the country. On the other hand, her critics believe that her policies harmed the poor and the middle class. She was also called insensitive towards the poor due to her harsh decisions and cuts in social programs. But Thatcher believed that only hard work and self-reliance could empower the country. Margaret Thatcher was a controversial but extremely influential leader. Her story is an amazing example of courage, determination and leadership. Her policies and work style transformed the economic and political structure not only in Britain but all over the world. Her contribution and legacy will always be remembered by both her followers and critics.